Go all in on it, right, and adopt it, because this will dramatically change your portfolio financially for the good, okay? So, like I said, it's a big win for everybody. I'm going to go through some details first, but as we go through the details, I want you to understand, I want you to start building a story, right? Again, going back to that customer experience and telling the story of Edge. And we're going to talk about products specifically that support it. Because at the end of the day, I don't want this to only be a I want it to be a story that you can tell. And as we work with more and more of our partners, the solution that runs it properly is to simply fit just like what we do with the other solution fitting. These are X ones that do Edge. What next? What else do you need? Great, this is Mint. Great, this is Paradise. Great, this is Retail Cloud. Whatever, right? So we're going to cover those things. But I want you to understand something. Currently, 30 to 40% of all of our new submissions are Edge accounts. That is big. How many people in here are currently producing 3 or 4 out of every 10 of their accounts as Edge accounts? 2 hands, 3 hands. Okay? So, and you guys haven't been through this yet, have you? I've only done training on this twice in the new training. So, if you're already at 30 to 40% now, you should be up 70% after this. For those of you who aren't at 30 to 40%, you should go through this and be at 30 to 40% or higher. Okay, this is absolutely huge. We're going to talk about what Edge is not. We're going to talk about what Edge is. We're going to talk about equipment and solutions that can run Edge today. And then the fun stuff, selling Edge and tips and tactics. All right, please save all questions for the end because, trust me, things will make sense when you hear it all come together. Okay? Real simple. What Edge is not. It is not surcharging. It is not cash discounting by the industry definition, meaning I'm adding a fee and taking away a fee. It is not cash discount by true definition, meaning I am taking a discount off of the listed price. Okay? NAB does not directly support those programs. And there are substantial reasons why. And one of the reasons why we must not call Edge or what we do cash discount. Because the minute you start doing that, you're hitching yourself to a wagon that's being driven by an industry that's all over the freaking place. Okay? And I've been in them. I go into those meetings. They're going to be one, I think, tomorrow or Thursday. I just can't remember. I've been focused on this, so don't remember the full NEAA agenda, but there is one on cash discounting. And I tell you what, I love watching people's faces walk in because they're excited to get some answers, and they walk out just as confused as when they started. Right? And I've been there. I'm like, well, listen to this and go, what the hell are they talking about? It becomes like a big recruiting thing for Cardex and this and that. It's nuts. Okay? We don't want to play in their game. Period. All right? We will not let the industry determine our direction because, frankly, there are a lot of companies out there doing it wrong. We will do it right. So that is why we do not offer a cash discount program. If you must use the terminology, which I'll explain in the sales tips and tactics, use cash discount alternative. Because at the end of the day, all of these programs that we talked about here, and when we talk about Edge, all accomplish the same goal, and that's putting more money into the bottom line of the merchant and partners making more money. Right? That's what everybody wants. But we have a very clear and different way of making that happen. And that's what Edge is. Edge positions the entire program as a price increase applied at the item level. And it's very important to understand when I discuss the difference between item and transactional level when it comes to card brand compliance, rules, and other aspects. It's very similar to how gas stations have 2 prices for gas payments on the payment method. On Edge, all items have 2 prices. Okay? It is built to support merchants in all 50 states. And most importantly, it encourages them to follow the commerce and pricing laws of their specific state. Every state is different, and I will talk about New York as an example in a minute. But Edge is designed if a merchant wants to run a true cash discount program, meaning this is $10 on the shelf. If somebody pays with cash, they pay less than what it is listed as. It can do that because it supports the 2-price model. Okay? But let's talk about New York. And this is, when I've been working on this for the last several years and building to this and everything else, I knew this was the way it was going to go down. And I was so happy of 2 things that New York did. First, they lifted the ban on surcharging. Great. They were one of the last 8 or 10 states that were doing it. The second thing I was ridiculously happy with is on its heels, they said, fine, if you're going to do a program like this, we don't want the customer to be surprised. You must list both items, any types of these programs, on all items or on the shelf of those items. I applauded them because they're directly going to the customer experience and literally sitting there saying, fine, AYZ company that wants to do a cash discount program, adding a fee, taking the fee away and calling it a cash discount. New York's going, how does that add up when I have to have both items on the list? It automatically, overnight, punches holes in a program that I personally have never liked from the beginning because it's confusing and I'm going to teach you how to sell against it, right? So Edge program, in a nutshell, it's a 4% increase that has been applied to all the items. This price increase will be discounted when cash is used, again, because all items have two prices. Very, very different than adding a fee to the transaction and taking that fee away. We have added an increase to the item, creating a two-price model, and based on tender selected is the price they pay. And because of this is the other big pivot, right? Surcharging and cash discounting the industry method, the money that they collect, I've never seen a single person out there going, call that sales, put it on your revenue, on your P&L. Oh, and if it was on items that had to collect sales tax and pay sales tax on that amount. Nobody does that. And it's significant when you start looking at the fundamental idea of a price increase. If a merchant organically raises their prices, what happens? The price increase that they then collect, let's say they raise the prices because electricity goes up. The added increase is sales. It raises the sales tax that they have to charge and collect. You can't have one without the other. Okay, you can't have a two-price model without the increased prices being counted as revenue and paying sales tax on it. This is when we start getting into some of the best practices where, as a consultant, you either need to help encourage them to do, or they implement software like Paradise, soon to be Mint, Retail Cloud, that will do that for them. Again, understand that Edge is a combination of two very important things: equipment with proper programming and a flat rate pricing structure. Okay? In the 4% to the cardholder increase, you board the merchant at 3.84 to the merchant. That gets you as close to zero as you possibly can. Okay? If you need to go less than 4% to the cardholder for certain high ticket accounts or stuff like that, get with the PRA. I've got a whole chart of correlating percentages. Okay? Retail accounts should always be on daily discount. If they're a tipped environment, that's where they may want to be on monthly because it helps with the accounting. Okay? But in a retail environment, you put them on daily and they end up getting that close to zero deposit. They're offsetting, right? And the way that, again, flat rate pricing structure was built, Edge or not, you have the ability to add your own monthly fee. So if you want to adopt a model of, hey, this is $99 to do, you can do that. You can also add a transaction fee if you need to for small tickets to support the two-price model. You can do that too to make sure you don't lose. And that's going to be in a different aspect. Okay, but some of the programming requirements. Whenever possible, both prices are displayed when the item is scanned or selected. As you add items, it's adding those items to the transaction. And follow my train of thought here, right? Ideally, there should be a cash total and an other total being collected as you're ringing up items. And then when the payment tender is selected, the proper item price and total appears. The receipts then reflect the item price based on payment tender. Again, no line item, no wording of surcharge, no non-cash adjustment, no service fee, nothing. When somebody has it, they pay it, they see exactly what they paid for. And again, software like Retail Cloud that offers barcoding generation, they're already building it into where the barcodes will print both prices, and it will accommodate late states like New York and California. You guys were asking me about Massachusetts and their laws and everything else. Hopefully you're starting to see how, because of a two-price model, all of that discussion that you guys are having around the world of cash discount and adding a fee and taking, it isn't even in the same, it's not the same game. It's not the same conversation. It's not the same practice that the merchants are adopting. Transaction examples, and we're going to see these again when I go through the product, right? So you see here as a cash transaction, 2 items, $3 each, taxes figured on that, you have your total. Same thing when the payment tender selected, you got your credit receipts, 2 items at $312. It's got the increase built in, the subtotal and tax changes. So again, the programming positioning. Edge positions the entire program as a price increase on the item level. I'm going to say this over and over again because I want you to understand it, because that is your sales tactic when you're talking. It's where all items have 2 prices. And again, this makes business sense. Back in the day when, and I sat with somebody last night talking through this and the history of my area on this, in 2013, 14, whatever it was, cash discounting was starting to come up as an option outside of surcharging. I looked at it and I didn't like it, right? From a definition and from a customer experience. I walk in and they're running a cash discount program and I'm going, great, I got cash. I'm going to pay less because I'm pulling cash out of my pocket. And then you got to tell me that, no, you're actually paying the same price. Why? And then trying to imagine explaining that to a 16-year-old hourly employee was just messy. It didn't make business sense. And that's when I wrapped my head, there's got to be a different way to skin this cat, right? Okay, what's the real goal? Increase revenue to pay expenses. What normal business practice does that? A price increase. Okay, when they raise prices, they know how to train their employees around that conversation. So this whole model makes sense from a business practice standpoint. And it makes it very easy, and when we go through overcoming objections, to help the staff overcome those objections in the implementation of the program. And this approach can be applied to all forms of non-cash payment. Because again, I'm saying every item has 2 prices. I'm not calling out cards, I'm saying cash, and I'm saying other. They can apply it to check if they want to. We're not having a card brand conversation. We're not having a surcharge rule conversation. It's about following state guidelines when it comes to all items having 2 prices. Again, the program difference, to go through it again, all of it is increased and counted as sales. When they're claiming the sales, they need to pay sales tax on it, and they have to follow suit. Like, that's the other side of it. Running Pay Anywhere on Edge. Let's look at some of the programming equipment, right? So this is a picture of the merchant or the clerk-facing screen. And you can see the items. You can see the items that have been selected. You have a base price, and you got the other price. And you got the charge price there. On the customer-facing screen, like Ryan said earlier, we're working on getting these improved to more of a pay anywhere experience. But you can see right there, they insert the card, and you have the total in there. Okay, you see a receipt on this. Same thing. You got a credit receipt, card receipt, or credit receipt, cash receipt. Same items, different prices print, different subtotals, etc. Let's look at it on Paradise. And this is why when Jesse went through Paradise and he hit on some of it, I said we were going to go through this. Paradise and Mint and Retail Cloud, they've all built because we gave them the requirements. I've worked and had conversations with each one on how we needed to operate. Okay, so on Paradise, you can see the clerk-facing screen, and you can see right there, credit price or cash price. This is big because this allows the customer, the merchant, to control that customer experience. Mr. and Ms. Customer, how would you like to pay? Your credit total is $23.62. Your cash total is $22.71. I'm able to say what it is. There is no guesswork. Okay? There is this in a second. This is the merchant facing. If you're utilizing Paradise, they offer the iPad Mini. The customer sees the exact same totals in front of them. And I actually have a video that I can send later where I did it at the liquor store, my neighbor that's running this program with the customer facing iPad. Based on tender selected, those were the receipts I popped up earlier. And that's the thing, okay, right now, guess what happens in a, quote, cash discount environment? You're up there and you're ringing stuff in a register and they're running a Deja Vu with the, quote, patented programming on it, right? Okay, your total's $100. Hands a card. They insert the card, they then look at their receipt and go, wait a minute, why is it $104? Oh, because you didn't see the signs? We do a cash discount program, we add a fee to everything, but you said my total was $100. Or they walk out later and go, why did I pay $104? He said $100 at the register. Because they're saying the total off the register before payment's selected. Again, messy, bad customer experience. We want a good customer experience for our customers. Running Edge on Retail Cloud, same thing. Clerk, merchant facing screen, cash total, card total. There's the customer facing screen. Same thing, right there for them to see. No surprises. Easy communication. Edge on the Retail Cloud, receipts, same thing. They have quantities, price per, totals in the cash, and then the same thing on the credit. And you can see the pricing changes on the item level, the totals, taxes, all of it. Now, I don't have Mint's in there yet, but I want to talk about Mint's, okay? We just got done going through this. Because Mint does table service as well. So part of the requirements whenever you're dealing with a table service, again, think experience across the board. And I think Jesse, I think Paradise does this as well, okay? If you're doing a table service experience and you're wanting to run Edge in a table service environment, and I bring the bill to you, okay? And you see the bill is $100, and you hand cash. Great, easy. Okay, you hand me a card, I'm then bringing that card back and it says 104. How messy is that, especially at a table service? And then you want the server to get into that kind of conversation and still expect a tip? Right? So Mint and Paradise, if they're a table service environment, that bill that's going to come to you has your items, and then it has a cash total and a credit total on it. So again, the staff can be trained, they can have that experience. You can choose to pay without surprises, run the card, you bring the receipt, they can still write the tip in, etc. Right? Other than that, Mint, they're customer facing and merchant facing the exact same, right? They're seeing the totals, the receipts are printing the right way, cash and credit based on tender selected. So now let's talk about best practices. I'm going to take a step back, away from the solutions, because I want you to understand the entire thing. I have a merchant that has the cash register. They will not do POS. They will not do software that makes this easy. How do I still make sure they're doing this correctly? There are a couple ways. Okay? As you know, our VX and Ingenico equipment, there's no line item on the receipt, so that we were not caught violating card brands, right? It's still up to the merchant to go back and finish the cycle of counting what I collected on my second pricing back into my dumb register. So there's two ways to do that. If the register is programmed with a detailed report prior to closing out the register, they can look and see how much was hit for credit card tender sales to close the sale out, right, and print the receipt. They can go, oh, I ran $1,000. Take that times 4%. I know it's $40. Miscellaneous sales, $40. Enter, close out my register. I now have that extra $40 in the second prices collected and shown in my sales. That will go to the accountant. Sales tax will get paid, etc. Right? That's one way of doing it. Another way is, especially in a retail environment, you know they're collecting the secondary prices and close to their fees. They can look at their statement at the end of the month. I paid $1,200 in fees, collected daily. I take that $1,200, I add it to my monthly sales. That's my new monthly sales, and now the accountant can close the books. So, but the fact of the matter is, if they're not finishing that loop on the other side, right? They're collecting the secondary price, but if they're not ever showing it within their sales and paying sales tax, they're liable. I mean, you're not, you know what I mean? Now all of a sudden, you're entering into that surcharge conversation. You were charging a fee, right? Definition of not charging a fee on the transaction is having two prices. If you're not ever showing and collecting the two prices, you've defaulted back doing what you're not supposed to. Okay? So again, we're not police. I can't go around and make a merchant pay their sales tax. And I can't make them do this. But you better believe that I'm having them understand the best practices on this, and then if they're not doing it, they're not doing it, right?
So you're just making it idiot-proof and mistake-proof from the programming end going in, so you don't have any liability for them or for anywhere.
Exactly, right? Now all of a sudden, enter the Pay Anywhere terminal. On manual close, this will produce a close ticket, a batch report, with the total collected in the second price in there. I've now taken the step out of having to figure it out. I can now look and go, I collected $40. Cash register, miscellaneous sales, $40. Cha-ching, close register, Z-tape. Okay?
So it'll actually show $40.
Yes, it will show what was collected in terminal mode. Yep. Okay. So now it makes it easier to do that manual process, right? And again, now you're stepping into the software side of things. If you're running software, Pay Anywhere in retail mode, Retail Cloud, Paradise, Mint needs to be moved up, Ven's being worked on, Hot Sauce is being worked on, AST is being worked on, right? You move into the software, it does it. Because both prices are in the system based on tender selected, it's automatically counting them as sales and the sales tax and everything else along with it. All of that best practices, manual stuff goes away. The software runs it.
Keith, if
Yep.
they have a standalone terminal, and they're a restaurant diner that hand writes tickets, should they start having a cash price and credit price?
Yes.
Okay.
So I mean,
That's the only way to do it.
we're going to go into the best practices part. It's always going to boil down to following state guidelines, right? If a state, like I said, in New York, says both prices must be listed, that's a restaurant too, right? If it's, and again, I always go back. You want the customer to create experience. Anytime the customer is faced with a surprise, and especially one that costs them more money, it's generally not a good experience. So create a great customer experience, right?
So will the 600 show on the customer's screen
Yes.
the sale, the credit and cash price?
Not yet. It's just showing when you hit charge, because all it displays on the customer-facing screen is once that tender is selected, how much they need to pay. It's not doing what. No, it's not calculating it and showing it as items are being put in, like Retail Cloud and Paradise and Mint would.
But Keith, it is showing a cash price.
Yes, based on the tender. Yes.
Price if you're using-
Yeah. So basically, what happens is you see this screen throughout the transaction but I see the two totals, and I say, okay, Court, your cash price is $20 and your credit price is $20.80. How would you like to pay? I'll pay credit. I hit credit, it shows it on the screen. I hit cash, it shows it on the screen. It just doesn't do it during the transaction itself. Okay?
So Keith, in a tableside restaurant, okay, when the bill comes to the table, let's say on the Mint system,
Yep.
it's gonna have both prices
Yep.
per item for each one. Does that make it valid as opposed to or
Okay.
eliminate the need in New York State for listing both prices
No.
on a menu?
No, because it goes back to the same thing. Think logically through this. If the state's saying, before I choose what I want, I need to know how much it's going to cost me based on payment, you have to do it. Okay? No surprises is what they said.
On the menu. Or well, in other words, they're not paying.
Okay,
It's in advance.
okay, let's take even a step further back. Okay? Forget the state. Is it a good customer experience or a bad customer experience to figure out how much I'm paying after I've ordered whatever it is?
If I have the higher price on the menu, it's a positive experience. If I
Yes.
if I add
yes.
it
And in that
after, then
case,
it
yes,
becomes negative.
exactly, right? So now it comes down to, am I going to list both prices? Am I going to list the higher with a caveat that says that gets into your cash discount conversation? Hey, prices listed reflect credit card or other form of payment tender. You will save 4% if you pay with cash, right? You know what I mean? So whatever
Right,
that
but
is.
right, so they could do that, get away with it, fine, and then because the receipt is itemizing each transaction, they're
Right.
now in compliance.
Correct. That's the idea, right? So again, it's going to come down to, is the merchant meeting state guidelines when it comes to price and commerce laws?
Right.
And every state's different. Some are going to be interpretive.
Right.
Some states are going to be, hey, you know what? You throw a little asterisk and a bold print at the bottom of each page of the menu. Great, we're good with that. Other ones, like New York, boom, we want to see it. We want to see it, plain and day. No math being done by the merchant or by the customer. So you got to follow state guidelines on that. And I really don't want to get caught up in like some of the details, but I will say, because restaurants have the ability to change their menus easily, this is a harder program to put in table service restaurants. Okay, because again, many restaurants will just go, why don't I just raise my prices and reprint new menus? Because if the market price changes on this fish, I'm reprinting them anyways. You know what I mean? And so like I'm just telling you, people that think, oh great, I'm going to go hit these $200,000, $500,000 a month restaurants with Edge and I'm going to make a shit ton of money. You got to go back to actually the operator experience of the restaurant, and they're going, look, I can just change my menu and print new menus, and I've got new inserts in there. Good, I'm done. I don't need this, right? Especially if they're not running. We just talked about Paradise and Mint. Okay, you start looking at like a Micros or some other solutions. You know how difficult it is to program a Micros database to put the two price model in there based on tender selection? Yeah. And really what it comes down to, it depends on who built the database and how it was built. That might not even be an option. I'm saying table service is not the lowest hanging fruit for this program. Just throwing that out there. Okay? If you think that it is, you're going to waste a bunch of time to not make any money. Just being real.
Just saying, so the merchant has an opportunity to just use the Edge program for a flat rate. They don't have to necessarily focus on trying to get money. In other words, passing over to, they don't have to worry about the two prices.
So flat rate pricing is a structure in and of itself. You can put a merchant on it without it being on the Edge program. Okay? If I decide it's the best sales tactic to sit there and go, man, I just hate seeing that it fluctuates in between 2.2 and 2.5 every single month. How about this? What if I can just make it 2.6? I'll assume all the risk. You pay 2.6 every single month. Can I sign you up? Yes. If you can do that, and it makes PCI go away, great. I didn't even talk about Edge. I fixed a different pain point using a pricing structure. All right. So now let's get into some of the sales tactics with Edge. I'm talking about 6 primary areas. Okay, I'm going to go through these, but fast. These are just some talking points. You're going to develop your own story and your own ideas. Some. I'm going to first go through prospecting accounts that are utilizing traditional processing. You're going to hear objections if you haven't already. I'm going to talk about how to overcome some of those objections. Then I'm going to teach you how to use Edge to sell against Square. Quickly, kind of mentioned selling against Square earlier. Accounts that are utilizing a current cash discount program. This is where it gets really fun. And then best implementation practices, making it stick in the merchant. And then finally, the idea of securing it with the right equipment when the right equipment may not be the beginning part of the conversation. So what about opening up doors and talking points? Again, hey, my name's Keith. I can save you money on credit card processing.
Get out of here.
All right? We've done killed that one. Okay? I also want to encourage you, don't walk in and say, hey, I can save you everything. I offer 0 fee processing. You will see guidelines coming down from us in the future that is not allowed. Okay? Not only is it not allowed, it's honestly stupid. Because as close as you can with a 3.84, you're going to get pennies. As soon as it's a tipped environment, and because the increase isn't charged on the adjusted tips, that statement becomes not true. As soon as it's a small ticket, implementing the right software and best practices, you're adding a transaction fee to it. That's not true. Why am I going to open a door with a statement that has so many opportunities for it not to be true? Okay? Do not do that, please. Build more value around you as a consultant and how you can help them put more money in their bank account. I'm going to show you how to do that. But one of the ways is, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Merchant, I'm just curious. You don't have to tell me. But how much did you spend last month in credit card or last year in credit card processing fees? And, okay, you can $30,000. They will immediately have a number in their head. I guarantee you that. They may not tell you, and it may not be exactly accurate, but they have a number. Great. You don't have to tell me. What if I could tell you that I can have a program that can put that money back in your bank every single month?
That would be wonderful.
Is that something that we can talk about? Okay, is it legal? Great, we're going to get to that in the objections. Okay, but that's one way, is to talk about using their imagination of once I put money into their bottom line. Right? As a merchant, you are paying for the rewards that cardholders get. We all know that. I use my Amex Delta. You help me with points. We have a program that now puts that back onto the responsibility of the cardholder if they're using that form of payment. Can I talk to you about that program? And then even from a price increase standpoint, look, this can be used as an objection or a opening the doors. Hey, do you ever raise your prices when you're trying to offset expenses? We now have a program that can allow you to do that without breaking enrichment rules from the card brands, that helps you save money and increases your pricing when cash isn't used. Can I tell you more details about that? Right? Know a few bullet points on it. And then again, down here, if you must use the terminology cash discount for search engine optimization, Facebook ads, those types of things, please use the word alternative afterwards. Refer to Edge as a cash discount alternative. Because in reality, that's exactly what it is. If the industry is going to go, we're going to have a program that does this and it accomplishes this, great. We have a better mousetrap. We have an alternative that allows the same thing, but doesn't check all the boxes that surcharging and everything else does, that makes the card brands mad, that has ugly conversations, doesn't create a good customer experience. In fact, I actually created a chart, it's just not in this deck, that lays out the differences between the two. Substantially different, right? So what about objections?
First of all, I just have to say, I don't see that. It's a cash discount.
No, it's
Period.
not.
It's an alternative price.
Huh? It's 2 prices.
It's 2 prices.
It's a cash discount.
It is.
Explain to me how it's not a cash. Okay, you come into my store, I say, hey, Mr. Customer,
Yep.
I just want you to know I've raised all the prices 4%. If you pay cash, I'll knock the 4% off.
Fantastic.
That's a cash discount.
100%. Okay, but it's built on what I'm saying is, and it goes back to the slide because of what the credit card industry is doing to the terminology. See what I'm saying? It's potato. It's the same, it plays in the same airspace.
Keith, hold on just a second.
It's the same thing as keeping you safe.
You don't ever wanna you don't wanna create that secondary objection, right? When your merchant, when they say, do you have cash discount? Do you have a cash discount solution? We have something that accomplishes the same thing.
Yeah,
This is
that's
our cash
perfectly
discount
fine.
alternative, and just move on.
Right, but I'm just saying, it's a cash discount.
For us.
But
Okay.
if what Keith's trying to say is, the way that some people position a cash discount and don't display two prices, they're doing it.
No, I understand that. So we're saying, well, we call it a cash discount alternative, but let me explain to you best practices of how to
Hey,
interact.
back
so
in
you
the
don't
day, they
just-
tried to dress up a Fiero and call it a Ferrari.
No,
And it was a
you're
completely
good
different
right
car.
there. You just said it's good right there, right? Yes, this is gonna accomplish the same thing for you and for your customers. Let me explain.
Are we gonna?
But it's a
So what you
lot.
don't have to worry
Yeah,
about.
it's a lot
We're
cleaner.
gonna do
Don't
it
get
legally right.
don't get into that whole mess, because you're right. Then they're saying, what's the difference? What's the, you know,
Yeah. So anyway, so some objections. I'll lose sales. Is this legal? Right? My customers will be unhappy. And then one of my favorites, why are you charging me / my customers more for this program? I'm going to teach you how to overcome each and every single one of these in the next 5 minutes. Okay, first, I will lose sales. This is a business conversation. I encourage you, understand the difference between net profit and gross profit, and it is mathematics. And this is why I love business, right? This isn't a theoretical question. I can overcome this with math. Great. And the example, how much did you pay in credit card processing? I pay $1,000. Fantastic. How much do you have to sell in total sales to equal a net profit, not a gross profit, a net profit equal to $1,000? And net profit is sales minus cost of goods minus all other expenses. Most businesses will run in between an 8 to 15% margin. Really good ones might be 20. Okay? So now if they're paying $1,000 in expenses, I'm going to make that go away. I can do the reverse engineering, and if they're running on the margins of, I think, 15%, that means if they're running a 15% net margin, $1,000 worth of bottom line profit, which is what Edge will do, it fires money straight to their bottom line, they need to sell $6,600 in sales. Okay? That's my tipping point. As they could lose some sales and still be ahead. You might go from 45 to 43. You lose $2,000 in sales, but I'm still up $800 in profit. Sounds like a winning solution to me, right? And then most of the time, just like whenever there's a price increase, yeah, you might have a dip, and then eventually comes back as customers, especially if the regular customers, get used to something. Okay? But this is a mathematical objection to overcome. Their break even is that number, right, of net profit that they or sales that they have to do to create that much money in net profit. Overcoming the customer pushback. My customers will be unhappy. Well, guess what? In order not to raise all of our prices, we've only added an increase when cash is not used. That is why all items have two prices. We wanted to give our customers to keep the opportunity to save money instead of just doing a blanket increase on everything, no matter how they paid. That was our choice. We could have done that. But we wanted to give the opportunities for cash customers to save a little bit of money. Doesn't that sound like, and that's where I always have fun, doesn't it sound like a better option? And if the customer goes, well, yeah, it's kind of hard, to keep somebody mad if they're agreeing with the logic of what you did, right?
Well, this is the cost of doing business.
Absolutely, I could have raised my prices, but if you want to pay cash, I'm going to give you the opportunity to save some money.
No, me paying the fee is the cost of doing business with the credit card brands. It's the cost of doing business.
Mhm.
So why should I pass that on to my clients?
Again, it's choice. I can definitely help you out if you don't want to, but if you want to stay on a traditional program, that money you had in your head of the $30,000, I can't help you put that in the
In
bank.
reality, this whole thing
Yeah,
is a mind game.
yeah.
Okay, it really is
You
a
get
mind
'em,
game.
too.
Because, realistically, if the person doesn't want to pass it on, all he's got to do is
It's
get
the same thing as a
25
price
cents,
increase.
40 cents in a price increase. But, and this goes back to the question I'm going to have, what happens is the merchants mentally like the idea of not seeing a statement at the end of the month that's showing their processing costs of $5,800. So by passing it on to the consumer, whether it's surcharge or whatever, it pisses off consumers, okay? All they have to do is increase their prices. By doing it this way, it gets around the whole compliance levels, the cash discounting, but it's really
It's the same thing as a price
thing.
increase, except
It's the
you're doing
same
it with
thing.
an option to pay less.
Right.
You're 100% right. The customer, the merchant, at any point in time can accomplish, and this is why I'll deviate for a second, this is why companies that try to pivot and pitch agents can't do it. Okay? So we're not going to go down the legalese. Instead, I'd rather you say, let's talk about what it's not. Let's talk about what's not legal. According to the card brands, you cannot add a fee to a transaction. We're not doing that. Okay? You cannot run a surcharge program in a state that doesn't allow it. We're not doing that. You can't run a surcharge program and not be registered. We're not doing that. Okay? So you can very easily deflect all and not get into the legal semantics of it to say we run a program that as long as you follow your state guidelines when it comes to how you display your pricing, we support it. Do all of these other practices. Okay? And then why are you charging more for this program? And again, you have the email decks on this too, just to let you know. I love this one. And let me go ahead and caveat this with, if you ever have to answer this, be 100% confident in you, the value you bring, and this program. The minute you get asked this question, you go, oh, well, credibility's done.
Yeah.
Absolutely done. Okay? So why are you charging me more for my customers more for this? I'll tell you what, here's why. First, understand, you pay less. I am bringing a program into your doors that's going to send money straight to your bottom line. Okay, you pay less. But let me talk about the cost of being able to do that and why we charge more. One, it was a program that had to be research developed and continues to be supported. Okay, just like anything else that comes along, there's R&D involved, right? Number two, it runs on our flat rate pricing structure. Whenever you have a flat rate pricing structure, guess what? Right now you're on Interchange Plus or tiered. We have no risk. Okay? We make money no matter what type of card comes through or anything else. You incur those fluctuation costs. We keep making profit. On a flat rate pricing structure, we incur the risk. And anytime you incur more risk, there has to be more reward on it. Another piece, because of the flat rate pricing structure, we assume regulatory fees that you're currently paying, PCI fees you're currently, all of those things are built in. So we now have a program that assumes more risk, all costs. And let me ask you this, one other thing. If that doesn't make sense, okay, you're the business owner, whether it's a restaurant or a retail place selling a widget, right? You come up with an idea that literally 30 to 40% of your customers start buying instantly, just like they are with this, okay? And it's replacing something else that isn't as good. Would you keep charging the same amount of money of whatever it's replacing, even though you had all that hard work to create it and your customers are buying it? No. You charge more and the other program goes away.
There's a lot of partners that charge $100 a month just
Yeah.
for access to the program.
Right.
Hold on one second. So what I did there was, I had a conversation, again, a business conversation with a business owner in a way that they can relate to. I am more of a storyteller than I am a salesperson. Okay, I sell really, really well because I can build a story that they can identify with and go, you know what? Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so now, selling at Square. We already kind of talked about this. Square raised their pricing, provided the perfect opportunity to move them to Edge because guess what? Square doesn't offer any program like this. You can't surcharge, you can't industry cash discount, and you can't Edge with Square. So you know you walk into a Square account, that merchant is 100% paying the fees and you can figure it out, right? Small tickets, to do it properly, we'll still have to have a transaction, so this becomes a fee. So this becomes a conversation about, hey, you know, here's what we're going to do. You're currently paying 2, 6, and 10. You're probably going to end up just paying 10 cents with me. And that's what goes into that kind of what I was talking about, that chart that I'm building for what the transaction fee needs to be based on average ticket size. And again, you have to approach it from a customer experience sales pitch. And I tried this, and I utilized Vend as a solution because this was a conversation that wasn't just replacing something, wasn't just unhappy about pricing. He was utilizing Square for their loyalty, okay, which is as good as Vend's. Vend's a little bit better. And because he said, oh, what's the one that was built like? There's another one, third-party one on the market that's like $250 a month per account. Starts with an R.
Rebel?
No, full loyalty program. All they do is loyalty. I can't remember what it is. But anyways, huh? No. Anyways, whatever it was, he said it. I'm like, Vens is built exactly like that. He's like, great. Okay, so now we're having a conversation. And that's when it dawned on me. Hold on a second. The way to overcome his issue with the increase from Square is Edge. And so then I tried it. I'm like, Don, okay, let me ask you this. What if your customer experience looked like this? Okay, we're utilizing Vend to do everything you want it to do. All of your items in your store have 2 prices. The customer comes up with their items, and as they're checking out, both prices are being displayed. If they select the credit tender, we charge one, cash is the other. The difference we keep, we help pay a majority of those fees. And instead of paying $80,000 like you did last year to Square because you had two big businesses, okay? And you know it's going up. You said you're going to pay another $23,000. Instead, you only pay $23,000. We save you $80,000. He goes, and all I have to do is, because my customers, yes, how fast can we get this going? So I didn't pitch it about the program. I pitched it about the experience that their customers would walk through. That goes back to the importance of why Edge has been built on the two-price model instead of the fee, take away fee bullcrap, because this can support a great customer experience when the merchant builds around it. It's a different conversation. It's a different experience. It's not I see a word and I assume it means one thing because that's what it actually means, conversation, right? Now, the other big one. I'm going to teach you how to take business from accounts that are doing cash discount. Okay? Now that you understand how Edge is built, how does the two-price model, how we've stepped completely outside of the conversation that everybody's going to have at NEAA, BS, blah, 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 this, that, legal, all these stuff. They can keep having that conversation. I'm going to go take their business. Okay? And here's how. I love seeing these signs because as soon as I see these signs, I know exactly what they're doing and I can tailor my pitch to it. Right? These are some examples of what's out there floating around. Create a flyer like this. It's pretty simple. You know how I know? I did it. I walked into a liquor store 10 miles south, my neighbor's sister, and she actually lives in my neighborhood too. She's like, Keith, I'm in Paradise, POS. I'm like, great. I'm thinking I'm going to do Edge, save them money. I walk up to the door and they have a sign up. And they're with the First Data House. And I'm going, okay, this is going to be interesting. Again, like I said, I have these things, I develop, I then spread it and teach it to you guys. Okay? How do I do that? I didn't have this flyer, but I started with these questions. Right? Hey, I saw you're running a cash discount program. By any chance, do you have a line item on your receipt? Do your receipts look like this? 9 times out of 10, especially if you've seen the signs on the front door, you know what they're going to answer. The answer is yes. Okay, great. By any chance, just to make sure, whoever set you up with that, did they register you to surcharge, especially if you're in a state that allows surcharging? 99 out of 100 times, especially because you know the signage is different, they're going to answer no. Then I'll flip the flyer over in a minute. The other question that you can ask is, hey, I see you're running a cash discount program. So that means if this is $10 on the shelf, so I pay less than this if I pay with cash? Well, no. I've now put them on the defensive, right? It doesn't make sense from a customer experience. And who knows? They've probably felt that pain with the customer anyways. Well, Mr. and Ms. Merchant, I'm not going to sit there and badmouth whoever set you up this way, but let me show you something. This is what the card brands have to say about it. Here's MasterCard's guidelines. You can look it up online. There's the URL. The picture I have is from their June. They updated in December. It can be found on page 107. And right there, plain as day, a merchant must not directly or indirectly require any cardholder to pay a surcharge or any part of the merchant discount, meaning fees, contemporaneous finance charge in connection with a transaction. A merchant may provide a discount to its customers for cash payments. And we all know what I just described isn't happening. Okay? They're adding a fee and taking a fee. And then MasterCard goes, you know what? Let's just really clarify this. For the purpose of this rule, a surcharge is a fee charged in connection with a transaction that is not charged if another payment method is used. They just call it out there. They're like, look, you charge a fee on a credit card transaction? It ain't nothing but surcharge. Visa, here's what Visa says. Their bulletin said this in October. If you're adding a fee and taking that fee away, that is not compliant with Visa card brand rules. So the minute I slap that down in front of a merchant that's currently doing that, do you think they're going to feel safe and secure in the program they have? Or did I just create doubt in their mind about the program that they have? Did I not just open the door to say, you know what, I can help you accomplish the same goal, but we have a way that does it, that doesn't violate these, that does it smart, and makes business sense, and actually helps your business because it's collected revenue, meaning the valuation of your business goes up because your sales go up. Completely different conversation. See how some of this stuff is coming full circle? Right? And why I didn't want to get caught up in some of the semantics of some of the other things? Because when you understand Edge front to back, you sell against everything else. You will take business from everybody else. Now, before I end on talking about proper program and equipment, This is the other biggest thing you need to help do, is make it stick. The accounts that we see that lose edge or turn it off happen in the first week or two because generally they were not supported in the process. The merchant got scared. They got some friction from their customers. I think, I can't do this. Everybody's yelling at me over the weekend. Yeah, you fired it up on your busiest day of the year. You know what I mean? On a Saturday or a week. Get it going on a Monday or Tuesday. Ease into it. Okay? Let me support you. Let's make sure, one, your state guidelines are met, but let's make sure it's a great experience. I walked into a Coney Island in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, right? And they had something like this, handwritten with pencil, on the wall behind the register. I knew what it was, because I do what I do. Shitty experience for the customers. You know, so I'm saying is like, if it means, and I use the analogy of a sale. When you walk into a department store and they're running a sale, is there any guesses about that? It's everywhere. You walk up to that rack of Adidas clothing and it says 20% off on a big red thing, and then they have a list underneath. If it was 50, it's now 40. If it was 20, it's now 16. Blah, blah, blah. Freaking do the reverse of it if you have to. Put signs up and say, all items have two prices. If you're not repricing every single item, let's make sure it's clearly communicated. All items have two prices. There's a 4% price increase added on the items when other forms of payment are used. For example, if it was 10, it's 10.40. If it was $28.95, it's now whatever it is, 29, whatever. I can't do the math in my head. But you get the idea. List some examples. Again, so that way the customer knows when I go to check out, I'm going to pay two different prices based on if I pull out plastic or I pull out cash. You don't want the surprise happening at the point of transaction.
Is there, on the software programs, whether it's any of the ones that are out there,
Yep.
is there a fallback where we understand every item is listed, other form, cash price? Is there a button that is it programmed or can it be programmed that, let's say someone pays by credit, but I want to keep that customer, I don't want to piss them off.
Yeah, a lot of them have the skip the increase and you do the cash price.
Right.
Yeah. Or you can use your discount override. Most
Right.
POS systems have where you can hit discount 5% or whatever else, and then you can equate it that way.
Right.
So it comes down to
Frequent
individual
customer
software.
discount, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
bang, takes it off.
Yeah, and you can put in whatever percentage. You're 100% right.
So you can manually change.
So again, help them create a great customer experience. Hold their hands. Build realistic expectations. Hey, let's work with your staff. You have 3 people. Let's train them. Let's walk through. I run. What? How come I got to pay more in a net than I did last week? Work with them. Practice. If you want to make the upside on the residuals and you want to have it stick, help them. Why do all the hard work just to have them freak out and then pull it? You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying. Like plugging in a terminal is one thing. Implementing EDS, there's a lot more upside. I'm going to do the extra work to make sure that thing's not going away.
Wait, I got a question. So
Yep.
what you were just talking about with implementing it. So
Yep.
I have one customer for years. I've gone back and forth with him on pricing. It's like a 6-location, very, very big volume coffee house.
Mhm.
But his average ticket's like $14. It's not like 5.
Yeah.
And he pays a lot of fees because
Yep.
he didn't want to go with Square years ago. And I know he just spent like $8,000 to update his menus across his stores. And so you just said something though, so he could say, he doesn't have to change his menus necessarily. You're saying best practices, he could,
Look at the
as long
state.
as it's very clear
Yep.
everywhere in the store.
If that's what the state,
Signage,
so yeah.
something.
I don't know what state that customer's in, okay?
California, sadly.
Okay. California is similar to New York. They want both prices displayed, is my understanding. Okay, but let's say it's not, for the sake of the story and example. Push it back to the state guidelines. And that's one of the processes I'm currently in. I'm trying to pull as many as I can, find best practices, find examples. Some states are a lot more clear. It's along the lines of pricing must be clearly communicated to a customer. That's pretty open to interpretation. You know what I mean? Like that could be signs everywhere. It could be, you know what I mean? Others are like New York and California, all items must have both prices. Well, you're not going to get really around that. You know,
But
so
if it has both prices on the receipt and the higher price on the menu, I would
that's
think.
true cash discount, but in the way the program is normally, it's not. You know, you're not dropping. If it's $5 on the menu, it's $5.02 credit. You know what I mean? Like that's the two pricing thing. So here's the conversation I then have with them. How much does he pay in fees a month?
A lot.
How much is a lot?
Like $3,000-4,000
Okay.
per store.
Per store, and he has 6 stores, you said?
Yeah.
So he's paying $24,000 in fees. If I have to pay another $8,000 to implement a program and redo all my signs to save 24,
Right, no, yeah. No, I get it.
yeah,
Once,
and
want
everything,
to.
yeah, once everything becomes an
Right.
ROI conversation.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's more along the lines of, man, it sucks. I know you just bought these things. You can pull them down and maybe throw some stickers over just that part of it. You know what I mean? Depending on what the signs are like or whatever else. Or hey, it may be an opportunity to upgrade them into digital so that way you can change them on a whim. So, anyways, all right.
So
Yeah.
we're covered just from our signs, obviously, but
Now, I will not say that.
no.
It comes down to the states. We give a very basic sign like that, right? If that's all they do, again, 2 perspectives. Create a great customer experience. If all I do is slap that on the front door and do nothing else, even if it is a state where they're not getting picky on it, am I really creating the best customer experience for my customers as a merchant? Am I doing my merchants a value by not trying to do more than that and help them create that customer experience? That's filter number 1. Most important filter is, let's look at your state. If your state gets more stringent on, hey, pricing must be clearly communicated, we want to have, and even look at they might have, here's what we require when you run a sale. Every rack must have a sale sign listed on it. I would then apply the reverse to that. If they say every rack must have a sale sign on it, I'm going to go, you know what? I'm going to interpret that every rack must have a sign communicating both prices. And if that means it's a store that has shelf, I'm putting those things on every single shelf. I'm making sure that if a state auditor or something comes through, they can't pick apart and say you're not following state guidelines.
So where do we find this information
You can
about
Google
each
it.
state?
Google it. That's what I'm doing right now. Google state
It's
pricing
hard.
guidelines.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
It's hard.
It's very hard, but I think I found a website that has most states in there. And it was not easy to find. If I validate that all the information in there is as current as it can be, I'll share it. I don't want to share it and then you guys go down a rabbit hole of something wrong. You know what I mean?
Because I thought that there had to be total transparency, including on the receipt, and if it wasn't, then we were opening
Well, we got the receipt
ourselves
taken care
up
of. We got the receipt taken care of.
to a complaint.
Yes, to a complaint we do. And then, like I said, there's the card brand issue piece, which is where the fees things comes into line and line items on the receipt, right? We got that part done. We're not even in the ballpark in that conversation. At the end of the day, I've had conversation with card brands. This is not going to be a card brand issue. This entire conversation and everything we're doing within probably the next 24 months is going to be a state issue. I knew that 3 years ago when I built this stuff.
They're not gonna enforce, all the highest court rulings in the state of New York, the Supreme Court in Texas, all the highest court rulings keep coming back to the First Amendment.
Yeah.
Saying that you can basically, whatever you say, and you have the right to say whatever you say.
Yeah.
So if there is a fee, so they're really not gonna enforce this. I think it'll be more, honestly, I think the card brands are gonna get mad about it a lot more than.
Right, and that's why that's why I wanted to do 2 things. Wanted to create a program that takes it out of the card brand conversation. Okay? And number 2, and see, some people have differing opinions. I met with a guy last night that thinks the opposite, right? But then number 2 is we want to have a program that could be supported in all the states.
Why would
Because
you-
all it takes is one state to go, you know what? We can start slapping $10,000 merchant fine on because they're not following state guideline, section C, line 117, saying you must display both prices. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, the states start hitting merchants. I can't talk. Long day. Because they're not following the state guideline. It has nothing to do with card brands. Then it puts it back on the merchant to go, you know what? I'm not going to pay this fine. I'm going to take the state of Iowa to court because of my First Amendment right. I mean, you really, and that's my whole thing is, I really don't want to even offer and have that conversation. I don't want to talk about First Amendment stuff and you actually have the right to do this. Who's going to do anything about it anyways? No, I want to have a great customer experience conversation. You know what I mean? And that's why I've shown how you can take from the cash discount people because the cash discount people are hinging their leverage on that. They are sitting there going, this thing, oh yeah, nobody's going to do anything. Everybody keeps saying first. Why do I want to have that with a potential business? You know what I mean? Like, why do I even want to have a conversation that leads to a possibility of something? That's just, whether it's this or anything else, I want to stay out of that altogether. I want to be able to fundamentally offer a program that makes sense, front to back, that falls in line with best business practices that they do anyways.
in
Is
the
there
edge paper.
someone like statement analysis that we can send
Yeah.
statements to and say, can I put them on Edge?
Yep. So what you can do is when you send in a statement to statement analysis team, you can say, I want to see a traditional, and I want to see it in Edge. And they can sit there and send you both back, so you can see your residual differences on it, bonus differences on it, all of it.
It's all in different.
And then you can sit there, go to the merchant, and say, okay, here's one on regular. If you go to our Edge program, here's how much you would save.
Yeah.
And now you put that in front of their face. It's awesome.
Keith,
All right.
in the edge paperwork,
Uh-huh.
is there a transfer or an understanding or limit of liability? I understand that I must explain.
We're working on
devices.
we still have our current disclaimer. We're working on all that stuff, right? Updated and everything. Like I said, this stuff moves fast in the way that we've been creating and doing this. Then you got the back end, everything that needs to be finished
Okay.
up.
Well,
All
if
right,
we were
so
to create that, we could eliminate the liability, right?
that's what the
and
goal
put it on
is.
the
Yep,
merchant.
yep,
Right.
100%.
Is the edge only allowed on the credit or is both credit and debit?
Let me answer that question with the debit credit conversation has to do with Durbin laws and is in a conversation over in here, right? Our system says all items have two prices, cash and other. I'm not attacking credit cards only. I'm not doing a price, like I'm not doing the fee. I'm not having a surcharge conversation. So other is other. Okay? When you go to the gas station and you insert your debit card, your Visa debit card into the gas pump, are you paying the credit price or the cash price?
You pay the credit.
Because they have two prices on every item.
But that's what comes back to my point. Like a lot of people just making a big deal. I said, listen, I take out for a local gas station and I show them a picture. Listen, it's done.
Yes.
It's done for
That's
2000.
what I'm saying, but that's the logic, right?
That's
And then you
the
have
logic.
these people that'll talk in the next couple of days about what can be added to a debit card because they're having a conversation about a completely different thing. Ours has two prices, cash and other. Other can be
Change the
check,
model.
it can be whatever. I flipped the model on its head,
Right.
put it in a different way that actually makes business sense and eliminate all the bullshit, frankly. You know what I mean?
Can you shift it by saying cash, check, but
Just cash and other. Cash and other. I don't even bring up card brands.
check,
Keith,
card?
doesn't our VX build right now, doesn't PIN debit actually, PIN debit, US debit shows as that's the cash price. That's
Correct. I think
reflecting
because that was built on the model of the other side.
is that gonna get updated?
We'll see. This is where we want to drive stuff to pay anywhere, software, and everything else.
Okay, I see trying to sunset that anyway, but
Yeah. There's more to it than that. Okay. So on that note, though, great question. Okay. One last thing before we mingle and I pass out drink tickets on a drink on me at the bar down here and all that stuff. Okay. And we talk more about all this fun stuff. Okay. Is I want you to expand your mind to the idea of would you secure an account with software, with POS, that you might not have done in a traditional setting. We already announced that with certain accounts on Edge, with the right requirements, we're going to do a free POS. But hypothetically, let's say Paradise isn't the solution for that merchant. Okay, let's say it's something else, or let's say we didn't have that program. Consider providing POS equipment to increase the value. Okay, provide a better customer experience and beat out the competitor. I'm going to continue a story. You know the liquor store of my neighborhood girl, my neighbor's sister, and she lives that I went into? Okay, guess what? They're only doing it small, $12,000 a month, $11,000 in credit card sales. All right? I've already shown them, and I created the flyer. I then gave it to them after I created that. They're all in going, I got to do something different. What we got set up with isn't right. But I'm sitting there going, okay, if that company comes back, blah, 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 I'm like, you know what? I know currently they're register, terminal, and a pad of paper doing inventory. What if I just provide them with a point of sale? Because again, I want it to stick. I don't want anybody to ever take the account from me. And I start doing the math myself. Hypothetically, I sign that up. The bonus is X. I'm going, the bonus pretty much pays for the system itself. I'm securing the account. I'm making the monthly. It all becomes an ROI. Okay? So, like I said, bonuses can offer cover a system. Figure out what your ROI is. And let's say that gets the system. Now imagine, I give them a free POS. They're now going to pay the $49 a month. They continue to not pay credit card processing expenses because we're just doing it in a better way. Right? I now have the business. Whoever goes in there to pick up their equipment, do you think there's even the ability for them to try to keep that account? No! Do you think anybody is ever going to walk in there and provide more value than I did? No! If I don't give them a POS, guess what? Somebody's going to be willing to take a higher cost of acquisition and give them a free POS at some point in time. When you're playing with residuals like this, people are willing to do it. I'm asking you, consider being willing to do it, because not only will it close the account, but it will provide a better customer experience. That's why when I don't have to do it, let's say they do fall into the placement, and I have another 2 liquor stores in Warsaw, I told them, look, we'll cover the system. I said, myself personally, I believe so strongly in this program. I believe so strongly in creating a great customer experience. I'm going to provide the customer-facing iPad minis, which are not included in the placement deal. I'm paying for those myself. Because I can get a Gen 2, which can be supported on Paradise, on a customer-facing display, on Best Buy for $119. For $119 and a little $10 stand to sit it in to create a better customer experience, they're going, wow, you do? Yep, that's on me. Worth it every time. I'm just asking you, I'm telling you, if you have the opportunity to secure the account, put them in POS, they're stickier, they're longer, because, again, $119 out of my pocket to secure an account where I could make $300 a month and get a bonus, I'd sign up one of those every freaking day if I could. Why not? You know, I'm saying consider cost of acquisition, consider making them longer lasting, consider bringing all the value to the table that you possibly can. We have Mint, we have Paradise, and we currently have Retail Cloud. Besides Pay Anywhere, we have 3 very strong systems that will do it right, make the work easier, and it's front to back, all reporting done, revenue done, sales tax done. But let's say it's a small merchant, and you're not willing to take on that. Every conversation I just had with you, you can have with the merchant. Hey, this system's going to cost you $1,200. And you do the math, and you know what your bonus is going to be. How about this? I believe so. I want to have you for a long time. How about we split it? You pay half, I pay half. Or, like what I'm doing, right? I had one of my businesses. I got a 4-location vape shop, and he has a skate shop and stuff too. They were running Paradise. He had to close one of the stores because they upped the rent and he just couldn't afford to be there. And they were on the placement system with Paradise. And the buyout on it was $500. We could either build the merchant or me. I said, you know what, guys, build me. I signed the DocuSign this morning. Guess what I now have? I have a fully functional $500 Paradise point-of-sale system that liquor store that I was telling you about that only does $11,000 and doesn't qualify for it, they're getting a free one. And I only paid $500 for it. Or I still have the option to go, hey, how about I'll do it myself. I'll rent it to you for $40 a month or $50 a month or whatever it is for 2 years, and then it's yours. Or a year. I secure. You can start. You can use your own mind. You can get creative. But the idea is secure the account with the right software. Bring all the value you can. There are ways to do this.
Well, Keith, I was going to say, I've been around the industry for a while, and with the right software, in my opinion, this is the last final move
Yeah.
in the industry.
Yeah.
Forever.
This has
Because
always
once you have
been.
the software in there, and
Yep.
they're not paying much in fees, they can't go anywhere.
No. Why ever
Why will
change?
they? They're
Why
not
ever
going.
change?
So it's the last opportunity.
Yeah. And when building Edge through the years, that was always my dream. I always knew it would be a software play. You know, back when I started this thing like 3 years ago and working on developing with some other people, I pushed for the price increase model because I knew if in my dream scenario I could instantly overnight create software that had a double price system, hands down, end of the game. But it didn't exist then.
All right, thanks.
It started as non-cash adjustment on a receipt and best practices, and then they said you can't have a line item. Then I had to go, but the overall core stayed the same. Now the software's there, right? The software is there. The solutions are there where you add, like you said, there's no reason to switch. They have a POS they love. They're saving time, saving money, growing their business, offsetting expenses.
So, a quick question, on a small merchant, let's say like a $10,000 merchant, tiny merchant, what's the profitability on that account on an Edge program?
So Edge profitability on average will be 3 times whatever it is not.
Right.
It's kind of a rule of thumb on average, right?
That's right.
So if it's a small merchant and it's going to be $30 a month, it'll be 90 to 110. You know what I mean? Again, it all comes down to what the cost is, their effective rate as a cost.
Right.
And then again, if their effective rate as a cost, yeah, if they have a small ticket, and this is why small tickets, you need to understand how to add the transaction fee to it, because of a small ticket, if their effective rate cost is 3.5 and I set them up at 3.84, there's only 34 basis points of profit in there. I throw a 10-cent transaction fee, I now drive more profit into the account. All right, on that note, thank you all so much for being here. It is a long day. We're running over a little bit, a lot of content, but this is the type of value we just want to continue bringing to you. So if you want a drink, Darren,